Today we're going to be making a battle axe in Nomad Sculpt. Now the trick to making anything in Nomad Sculpt is starting with the general shapes. So we're going to start with all the simple geometry first. Right here I'm using a tube with the tube profile to get this unique shape. Then I'm using the radial repeater to get them to go around in a perfect ring. Now we're going to use one of my favorite things. This is the triplanar tool, which basically lets you cast shadows into actual objects, which is perfect for tracing the general shape and then projecting it into an actual object. What I'm doing now is setting the face groups to different colors so that I could mask select those face groups and only extract and then bring the blade edge so that it has a sharp point. Now I'm adding the sphere that I could start the general shape of the actual skull. You'll want to keep it as simple as possible at first. Don't go into crazy detail. Just get the general shape going, as you might have to adjust it to fit your prop a little better. I really like to use the crease tool to define certain shapes within a sculpt. That way I don't lose it, and as I form the shape, I kind of have a general idea on where the nose, mouth, and teeth and stuff like that go. So just keep that in mind. Don't get married with the base shape. When I sculpt an object that I want to add a lot of details in, what I do is I typically do it in 3 passes. First pass being the blockout phase or the general shape. Second pass being adding all the creases and curvature that I need. And my third pass is where I define any details that I need to and clean up any curvature or shaping as needed. What I'm doing here with the teeth is we're just adding the basic shape, just kind of like how I did with the skull. And then I used a curve repeater with the mirror repeater to be able to mirror those teeth. And then for the fangs of this skull, I'm just using a tube as is. Keep in mind this is going to be my first long form tutorial, so you'll have to be a little patient with me. The more I do and the more feedback I get, I'll be able to improve it over time. So feel free to leave any comment where there might have been any confusion on this tutorial, and I'll try to do better in the future. And also keep in mind this is definitely not a beginner tutorial. If you don't know the basics of Nomad Sculpt, I really recommend that you check out my TikTok, as I have a whole bunch of quick tips that'll get you going super fast. You'll notice that I'm starting to add more definition to this skull, but I'm still really just keeping a general shape. I just want to know where the sockets are, make sure we get that depth that we need in the skull. Like I said, we'll slowly be refining it, but as you'll notice, I'm adding a little depth to everything just so it could be more blocked in. A cool thing that'll save you a ton of time is actually adjusting the fall off of each one of your brushes to get certain desired effects like this one right here. It just saves me a lot of time and helps me build a lot of form when it comes to sculpting. Where I'm adding these creases by the teeth is the normal fall off, so that's a good perspective. Now, like any skull, you're going to want to hollow out the base just like this. Keep in mind I'm using a combination of smooth and inflate subtract for that. And then with the drag, I'm twisting my stylus to give it more of a serious kind of look. That'll be my second pass. And then on the third pass, we'll come in and make stuff a little bit more serious. An important note for any sculptor is to really make sure that you take your time. There's no reason to be rushing something, especially when you're looking at it from a whole bunch of different angles. It's really important to keep your composure. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build out more of the handle and add more of the serious details. You'll notice that I'm avoiding anything organic on the handle for now, as that does take a lot of detail and it does consume a lot of time. In some cases, you might not even want to add those details. It really just depends on what you're doing. For the block out of the handle, I'm keeping it super basic with simple geometry, including the tube tool. One thing you'll notice is that I'm not going to validate anything until the very last point. This will make it to where you can make quick, fine adjustments without having to add the base shape and doing it all over again. It's important not to validate any geometry that's simply not needed. That way you can make quick adjustments at the very end. Another quick tip is to not keep on adding every shape from the actual menu, but clone objects where you can. It'll save you a ton of time, especially when it comes to sizing. All you have to do is get those base shapes and then clone from there. Anytime you're using the gizmo, there's a quick clone tool right there on the top left. How I get a sharp edge on these toruses is I change the division all the way down to a low number like 3 or 4, depending on how many edges you need. Right here you'll notice that I actually could have cloned the actual cylinder from the handle to save a little bit of time. That's exactly why the clone tool is your best friend, so just keep in mind that you'll want to practice using it. Right here I'm adding a cone and then I'm changing the divisions to 4. You'll notice that it looks kind of funny when it comes to the shading. There's not really a sharp edge or anything like that. To fix that, you're going to open your shader menu and then make sure you turn the auto shade smooth to off. I really like to turn on my wireframe when I really want to refine some details. I want to make sure that edge flow is nice and clean, that we're not getting a whole bunch of n-gons. And I do use the quad remesher a ton. I highly recommend, if you don't have that add-on, that you buy it. It is 15 bucks, but it's worth every last cent as you'll end up using it more and more as you go. Now that we have a lot of the work done, I like to paint things just to bring everything alive. This is where I tell myself, do I need to increase the volume of a shape or take away from it so that other details can be more balanced? Now I'm going to use the mask extract tool to extract this shape from the body so that we can make it into an indent. By using the Boolean subtract tool, what you'll want to do is name the object that you're using as a cut as your final object. So I'll be naming this one blade, and then make sure you hide the object that you want to cut from the other object. Select both of them and then click Boolean. Now it's just time to add the finishing touches, which is the blade spike. I actually should have done this at first. When you saw me use the triplanar tool, I should have incorporated the spikes into my mask extract. But no worries, that's something you could always redo and it doesn't really take that long. Or you can just kind of go with what you got. Now you'll see what I'm doing right here is I'm using this. Now you'll see that I'm using the tube tool to create these spikes so that I can position them exactly where I do want them so that they match the blade. Afterwards, I'm going to use the grid option to decrease the size of them. You'll notice that they don't really have flat faces, but this is an easy fix. All you have to do is use the quad remesher. After you make your final adjustments, you'll just want to make sure that you have sharp edges. Like I said earlier, all you're going to want to do is go into the shader and turn off auto smooth shading. Then from there, you're going to go into your divisions menu, click on link, and then increase the Y division while the other one remains at 4. Just like that, you have a unique axe in Nomad Sculpt. If you like this tutorial, follow me for more.